So I intentionally left out some of the grossest slides, so actually this isn't as bad as it could have been. I'm from IDEO.org. I'm the co-lead and executive director. IDEO.org is the sister nonprofit to the innovation and design firm IDEO. So we've been spending the last couple of years on a project with Water and Sanitation for the Urban Poor and Unilever, working on the issue of sanitation in Kumasi, Ghana. This is a picture of where waste is currently disposed in Kumasi. It's a city of about 2.5 million people, where 72% do not have access to toilets in their homes. Most people are using public toilets. These are pay-per-use toilets. People are spending somewhere between 5 and 20 cents per person per use per day to go to these public toilets. So you can imagine if you're making $1 to $4 a day, this is a tremendous amount of your income just to go to the bathroom. Also, the public toilets are oftentimes filthy. They're inconvenient. There's long wait times in the mornings and the evenings. So this is really not an ideal solution. So what we decided to work on with our partners was to come up with a solution to provide toilets in people's homes. So what might it look like, given that people are not going to have access to sewage systems, what might it look like to have toilets in people's homes that were sort of more like camping toilets or toilets on boats that we have? So we started by prototyping products and started with the toilet itself. We took one visit to Ghana to understand what the sanitation solution was, came back home and actually put together 6 prototypes of toilets that we hacked together through the use of existing products that we found off the shelf. So we flew to Ghana with these 6 toilets, and our initial assumption was that people were going to want the most aspirational of the toilets. This is a small camping toilet. It has a water flush. And so we thought that people would really want kind of the notion that they were connected to plumbing or to the sewage system, and that they would want this kind of water flush. What we found, though, was that it was really complicated for people to use, and when we went back after we gave them to people for a couple days to use, we found out that most of them were sort of overflowing and really disgusting, or the ones that hadn't been used because the people were so protective and they didn't want to let children or their elderly parents use them for fear that they might mess them up. Instead, people preferred a really simple toilet model. This was essentially just a bucket with a seat on top of it and a lid that would close. And so what that got us to was to develop the design of this toilet, which was aspirational in terms of its design, but very basic in terms of its functionality. However, it would be really expensive to actually build those toilets or have them manufactured at a pilot test when we didn't even know yet if there was actually a consumer market for this service. And so instead, we found the closest approximation of the toilet that we designed from a Swedish manufacturer, ordered 100 of them, and sent them to Ghana. And what that got us to was an understanding that, in fact, customers were willing to pay for the toilet service. They were really interested. And once we had that confidence at the level of 100 families, we were able to manufacture now 1,000 of these toilets, which are very close to the design that we created, and then moving to 10,000 within the next year and a half. The second thing that we prototyped was the service model. So again, we had a lot of questions, and we interviewed a lot of people, and we asked them, would you prefer to dump your own waste, whether that was in a bag or in a bucket, at the public toilet and bring it out yourself, or would you prefer to pay for a service for someone to come in and empty the waste and then bring you back a clean container? And universally, when we interviewed them, people said, I would prefer not to pay. I'd rather save the money. I'll bring my own waste to the public toilet. So we said, fine, let's try it out. We left them again with these toilets for a couple days with 12 different families. And when we came back after they had used the toilets for a couple days and said, okay, now would you like to have us take care of this waste and pay a bit, or would you like to take care of it? They said universally, no, I would never be seen transporting that waste across my neighborhood. Of course, I'd rather pay a few cents for someone to do that. So we hired a guy for a couple weeks to basically serve as our waste operator. So he was the sort of the prototype of the position that we would be hiring, and he was the one that actually carried their waste out. And so now in the pilot phase of this project, we've built out a service team, and actually it's been really, it's worked really well to have these service operators be collecting this waste. The third thing that we prototyped was the brand. So we started off by asking people what features were important to them in a toilet. Was it safety? Was it health? Was it convenience? This led us to 4 different brand directions. So when we left those toilets with people in their homes, we said to them, which of these stickers would you like to put on your toilet? What do you want your toilet to be called? And 11 of the 12 families selected Clean Team as the option that they liked. So this led us to move in that direction. We then took the California designed version and brought it to a Ghanaian sign painter and said, what's the Ghanaian version of this American version of Clean Team? And he came up with this. So that sort of helped us understand the local direction, but when we brought this to people, they said, no way, that looks too crafty, it looks too African. We want the American version or the Western version of this. So that led us to then redesign it again, and we got to this version of the Clean Team logo. But it was a little bit too complicated and not refined enough, and so we went back to Ghana a third time, brought out a whole range of different brand directions to consumers again, and ultimately landed on this as the logo and the brand. So currently, as I mentioned, we're scaling from about 150 families with toilets to about 10,000 families over the next 2 years. And through prototyping and failing and learning and iterating and through taking a lean startup approach, we're able to provide urban Ghanaians with toilets that didn't have access to them before. Thank you.